Last week we worked on a video. I asked the staff members to share with us the dumbest thing they've ever done. And I know you want to know the dumbest thing they've ever done, right? Okay. Dave, let's roll it. Dave, is there no video? You know the dumbest thing that David Apps has ever done? And Bill, and Jim, and Michael. Okay, the dumbest thing Michael ever did was to try to be a kid and get not just chaperone the youth, but actually to get out there and try to think that he was young. So, what is the dumbest thing you've ever done? Think about it for just a minute. The dumbest thing I've ever done. And have you ever done the same dumb thing twice? Some of you are thinking, yeah, my husband does it all the time. Alexander Pope said, "To err is human, to forgive divine." Now, it may be human to make a mistake, but it's just downright stupid to make the same mistake twice. And most of us are quick learners. People, they adapt pretty well. They make a mistake, and then they say, okay, been there, not going to do that again. But do we learn as well from the mistakes that others make? Do we watch, and when someone else makes a mistake, do we use care that we don't do the same thing? This morning, I want you to follow with me from the Gospel of John, the 13th chapter, and in the 14th chapter. We're going to look at 5 disciples and the mistakes that each made at a critical point in his life. The first one is Judas Iscariot. John 13, verse 27-28. As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. What you are about to do quickly, Jesus told him. 3 years ago, in the British Open Championship, an amateur golfer told pro golfer Graham McDowell that there was something wrong with his swing. That would be like one of you youth coming up to me and saying, "Preacher, you could improve your sermon by doing a certain thing." And those of us who think we're professionals, we would more than likely be offended by a non-professional telling us how we can do a better job. But McDowell was not offended. He actually went back and watched videos of himself, and sure enough, he saw what the amateur was talking about. So he applied the lesson. And the first day, round 1, finished in first place. Now, Jesus talked to Judas, but Judas was offended. He insisted on doing things his own way rather than the way that God wanted him to do. And watching Judas take that piece of bread from Jesus at the Last Supper is like watching a horror movie. And as someone goes to the door and you as the audience can see what's on the other side of the door, and you're saying, "Hey dude, don't open the door, don't open the door." And they open the door anyway, and on the other side of the door, there is a monster. You see, Jesus knew that his greatest adversary was on the other side of that door. So he was saying to Judas, don't open the door. Don't let Satan enter your heart. You see, Jesus knew that that Judas had already negotiated with the priest to betray him. And he also knew that a second violation of the covenant of discipleship would destroy Judas. And it did. It literally ended his life because of the adversary on the other side of the door. Every day, 2,000 children go missing in the United States. And we warn our kids constantly, don't get in a car with a stranger. Don't take candy from a stranger. Don't open the door to a stranger. But statistically, you ought to tell your kid to be more careful of those he or she knows. Most of the child abductions and abuse cases are at the hands of a person who is known by the child. You know the adversary on the other side of the door. He's not a stranger to anyone in this sanctuary. You know what he can do in your life. You know what he can do to your thinking, to your heart, to your family. You know who's beyond the door. Why would you open the door and let such a monster in your life? You see, the mistake that Judas made was he thought that he could negotiate with the devil. He thought he could set terms and say, okay, let's strike a bargain. But when you open the door to Satan, he's in 100%. There is no negotiation. Secondly, Simon Peter, verses 37-38. Peter asked, Lord, why can't I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you. Then Jesus answered, will you really lay down your life for me? Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. Peter was the first disciple enlisted by Jesus. Now that would be an honor, wouldn't it? If I were going to select a band of disciples, 12 people to follow me, and you were number 1 in the list. So that was Peter. When Jesus said that he was going to die, Peter stepped up and said, I'll die too. I want to be the first Christian martyr. I was the first disciple to follow you. I want to be the first disciple to die for you. As Jesus trembled at the thought of going to the cross, Peter boasted about following the Lord to wherever. You see, Peter overestimated his own strength and underestimated Satan's strength. A couple of examples. Guys, let's say you have trouble with pornography. And you're on the road, maybe as part of your job, or you're just traveling alone. You know what the worst thing you could do? It would be to reserve a room in a motel that offers you the opportunity to see pornography. Don't put yourself there. Don't underestimate the power, the strength of Satan. Ladies, an example. Even though Community Kids is going to ask you today to buy a $5 Belk card, the $5 is discounted, and then you use the Belk card and all that money goes to Community Kids. Let's say that you know that your checking account is empty. And your credit card is maxed out. Don't go shopping. Anita, did you hear me? Bill told me to make sure I said it to Anita. Yeah. Bill, that's the dumbest thing you ever did, too. Now, if you're going to go window shopping, just leave your checkbook, your credit card at home, because you're not as strong as you think you are. When you see that beautiful dress, you're going to say, oh man, I would look great in that. And you're going to buy it.